live and we are ready. Yesterday's huddle could have been
one of the all-timers. Everybody was saying it's our best huddle to date, but we're always looking to get better. We're always looking to improve. So we'll see if we can top it.
Before we move into what we're doing today, it's Bugle Boy's birthday. Let's wish Mike Bear a happy birthday, Shay.
He's the first recipient of the new birthday music. So hope you enjoy it, Mike Bear.
Go.
Happy birthday to you. This is for you. Hey, hey, hey. Today is the day, it's finally here. Today we celebrate another year. The party's on, we're gonna go till dawn. And it ain't gonna stop till the cake is gone.
Bingo.
I gotta tell you, this show has significantly upgraded. And those that are getting a birthday wish from Christina Aguilera, way better than any of our previous birthday wishes.
All she'd have to do is blow me a kiss and it's over. It's just really, really great shit. So you had a big day yesterday. You were out running around doing. I had coaching.
I spent the day in Meisner Park yesterday. I spent the whole day in Meisner. I bounced between Subculture Coffee and then, of course, had to visit Kapow, but had a great day early in the morning with Jake to start. Got to meet Benny right there. Thank you, Benny, for coming down to Boca. Then got to meet with Shira, which was really cool. Just a young entrepreneur doing really great things. And had a great day with Howie, just setting the direction of what it means to be in business development for the On the Ball crew. And just reframing the brain and getting down to the activity of what we got to do to be successful.
You know what's interesting? I don't think people realize the amount of groundwork, foundational work that goes in to doing what we do. It's not just, hey, plug the player in and go do what you do. Howie's a career biz dev guy. And, you know, we're still working with him like day one. Like, hey, you put on this uniform, we do it differently. And I think you kind of opened his eyes a little bit.
1,000%, I think, was because and this is what this is every organization that we talk to. But as soon as you say business development, everybody goes, okay, I have to start selling. What am I selling? What's the product, price, service? How do I talk about this? How do I pitch this to people? And retraining the brain that business development does not equal sales. Business development equals marketing. And how do you market yourself day in and day out? And what do we define as the activities? So really great stuff. Awesome.
So I love, all the people rolling in. Gabby Alvarez is my main dude over at the Hilton. Good morning, Gabby. Looking forward to our call this morning. He's got a cool business. He's doing CPR type stuff. And so question, do you know CPR?
I do. I knew CPR. I am not up to date with my certification. I used to have to be certified every year while I was
as a coach.
Yeah, so I haven't been certified in 3 years.
So that seems like a pretty cool skill to know. And,
it is.
I will say it's a good idea for a little one.
If he's doing training and he's disrupting the training of CPR, that's ripe for disruption because the classes and the training were awful. So.
We're doing it this morning. I see Sherry Cedars here. Every Monday late afternoon, I get to end the day with her. And Mondays is my big coaching day because I sort of go back to back. But it's always a treat, always a pleasure to see her getting better 1% every day. Shay, I sent it to you. I don't know if you were able to load it. The StreamYard apology.
Yeah.
Bingo. So look at this. Mark, share what this is.
So I got this yesterday, and normally I, look at these real quick, and then I'm like, oh, they had a mishap, not worried about it. But I read it, and I said, hello. It said, hello. From 4:50 a.m. to 5:02 a.m. Pacific time on Thursday, August 25th, StreamYard experienced issues that caused some users to be able to do things like create broadcasts, enter the studio, get comments, and wait for this, and go live. You are receiving this email because based on our logs, it looks like you may have been affected. So yes, we were, StreamYard. Thank you for taking ownership and apologizing But as soon as I read the time, I was like, are you kidding me? You couldn't have had a worse 10 minutes for us. Like, that was our go live window.
But I got to be honest with you, which I hate saying that.
Sure.
Sorry. The fact that they responded to us and said, hey, we know this affected you, was mind-boggling to me. There's millions of people using this platform, and they were good enough to follow up and said, hey, we screwed up. And
very cool tactic.
I thought super cool. Shay, wake up music. Then our newest coach, Geno Valdes, comes in to just sprinkle fire on the quiet quitting conversation.
Wake up, everybody. Get up, get up, get up, get up. Wake up, come on, come on. Wake up, everybody. Teach a new way. Maybe then they'll listen what you have to say. Wake up, everybody. No more sleeping in bed. No more back to thinking, time of thinking ahead. Come on.
All right, without further wait.
One thing though about the StreamYard apology is they are a video platform. So the fact that they didn't send a video is the apology. It's kind of a miss, you know? Like, right?
Man, what do you do? Oh, I love it. I love it. It's so good.
I mean, how can you point that out?
Use your own product, you idiots.
Right.
That's so unbelievable. That is so true. So without further ado, I am super excited to add yet another bald guy to our roster. Geno Valdes and I have been friends for 8 years.
Yes.
He is the master at organizational implementation, activation. Geno Valdes, welcome to On the Ball and welcome to the Daily Huddle.
Thank you, guys. It's great to see you. I'm really excited to be here. Again, yesterday I was telling Mark earlier this morning. I said, yesterday I landed. I missed the huddle. I went online and I saw this quiet quitting thing, and I went nuts. I'm like, what is going on? Excuse me. I said, what is going on here with quiet quitting? This has been going on forever, and it's not new. It's just a new phrase, I guess, that went online. But yeah, I had to comment, so I sat down and I went ahead and just sent the team an email and said, hey, here are my thoughts on this. And Steve goes, you may want to talk about it tomorrow. So here we are. Yeah,
well, you took the time. You took the time to lay it out. It was very organized, very well thought. It definitely jumped on a lot of the ways. Mark posted something yesterday, got huge engagement. I did a video in the afternoon. Our friend Kevin O'Leary did a video. Shay, show me the video.
Kevin, you're the best. So quiet quitting, a temporary pandemic hangover, byproduct of low unemployment, or a long-term thing?
Shep, the economy's changing. Obviously, we're going into a whole new metric where some people work at home, some people work at distance, some people go back to the office. We don't know how it's going to shape out in the long run. It's more project-based. In other words, you're hired and you're trusted to finish things off. Now, some ideas are bad ideas, and some ideas are stupid ideas, but very rarely can you combine both. And that's what we have here. This is the dumbest idea I've ever heard in launching a career. And what I'm hoping I can do, and I've told the recruiters, because I've got about 10,000 people inside of the companies that we're investors in, plus the supply chains, I've asked them, can we identify these people early and help them get jobs with our competitors? Because this is the most competitive weapon I've ever seen. If you're a quiet quitter, you're a loser.
Take it away, Geno. Give us
he did not mince words there. And I agree. I think, if you boil this down to the basics, it's really workplace balance. This is not nothing new. This has been around forever. But people have to own their decisions and own their career. You can't just take a job somewhere and then realize after you're in there, ooh, this culture doesn't fit my values, or this culture doesn't fit where I want to go with my career. And then start to slow down and basically do the bare minimums to get by. So, at the end of the day, you've got to own your career. And the word that I've always used in these type of things is alignment. you have got to be aligned with the company you're going to go work for. Because if you're not aligned, then you get these situations where you're blaming your boss, you're blaming the company, it just doesn't work.
So I'm gonna dig on you here, Geno, because you speak my language, and I want to go back. Like, I'm so excited to have you on the roster because I remember meeting you 2 years ago. We sat at Circle House Coffee, we had a conversation, and I just knew that I didn't know what we were gonna do together, but I knew I had to do something with you. I just walked away from that meeting, and when you meet people like that, you just know that, like, you got to find a way to work together because you're so aligned, to use your word. But so you hit on both, because you talked yesterday in the email about it being a responsibility of leadership. And now you say also it's your individual responsibility to take ownership of your career and be aligned with the organization. Right. How does an organization first start by communicating its purpose in order for its people to be aligned with it?
I think that's one of the biggest issues I see. First of all, it's the hiring process, right? You take a look at an organization, and because there's a shortage of really good employees, they're just hiring bodies without going through their own due diligence. And the company has to do their own due diligence to make sure you bring someone into the organization that fits your own values and you can invest in them, right? Because at the end of the day, that's what you're doing. You're investing in people you're bringing in the organization.
So I'm gonna pick some more here, because you're talking about values, and this is work that both you and I do for organizations. I just recently did this work for Sistel. They had given me a document that they paid for somebody to create about their core values, and inside of their core values was to become a $100 million company, right? And I said, that's not a value, that's an outcome. Right. Correct. So how would you define values for an organization to ensure they can understand how to get the right people that align with the values?
So here's what I always tell, and the HR folks that I talk to, you have to define very simple values. One of them is basically, does this person enjoy working in a team environment? Is he a lone ranger, or do they want to work in a team? You've got to be a team player in order for you to do this, right? Is there a tenacity where this person is going to get the job done from beginning to end, not just hand it off to someone and move on to the next thing, right? The other one is, and I always use this, is this the type of person that is going to care about the company and about the other folks in the organization? Because if you have a person who's just worried about their own vested interest, man, that pops up real quick in an interview. Yep. When they use 90 I's, in a conversation, well, I did this, I did that, and you're going, wow, I guess you don't need the other 2,000 people in the organization because you do it all. Right? So simple things like that will start to get a sense of whether this person is someone you want to bring into the organization, and then the questions you ask, right? Because I've been in interviews where you're wondering, the questions they ask you, you're going, what is that? What is that going to do for us, right? It's just out of kilt.
I love that you talked. Everything you said was a behavior. Nothing about what you said was, tell me about your accolades, tell me about where you went to school. None of that. Everything was about, tell me how you interact, tell me how you work with others, to explain to me the behavior that you exhibit. Because if you have the right behavior, I can then teach you the tactical skills and the things I need you to do within the job, but I need you 100%. To have the behavior first. 100%.
I can't tell you, Mark, how many times I've hired people without having a job for them. Really. I bring people, Steve knows, I bring people in the organization just because I know there's a fit, right? I go, man, this person is a fit for our organization. And then eventually we'll find an opportunity for them because I know that this person is going to do the right thing for us. And, it's funny because many times you find the person when you're not looking.
Right.
And then when you are looking, you have to settle.
That's such a discipline.
I was hoping we got here. I was hoping we got here because I wanted to swing the conversation about how does a person get to that place where in their minds they think it's acceptable to quit. Shay, show me Mark's comment on my video yesterday. So Mark,
I'll read it. So I said,
Yeah.
so your video was so on point, and like I just hearing you say what you were saying in the video, I was like, oh, it took me back to being a kid. And I said, imagine having this conversation at 13 with a laughing emoji. I said, thankful you have always stressed to me that it was my decision to make, but if I chose to participate, then the work wasn't optional.
And so you learned it early, which when you did that, I was so proud. I mean, it makes me so proud because that was my responsibility, how you show up in the world. So then you show up in a workforce, this quiet quitting is complete bullshit for you, could never happen to you. So why would you blame me as the boss?
Right.
Because it's you, the individual, that show up as a shithead that's disrupting everybody because of your selfishness. So, but
there is another side to that, right?
Okay.
And I think Geno hit on that if we as an organization haven't aligned on our core values, if we can't identify what's the behaviors we're looking for in people in order to help us if we haven't defined it, then nobody can fit it. And so we have an obligation to the people that we're responsible for to not only define what those things are, but then hold them accountable to it, which I think that was my point about what you did for me as a kid, was you never told me I had to play baseball. You didn't tell me I had to play football. You didn't tell me I had to go to school. But if I chose to go, it was my decision. If I chose to go, then the work was no longer optional. I was going to have to do what was asked of me and what was necessary. So you were holding me accountable to a decision that I made. Most organizations are making the decisions for people or not defining it for them and then trying to hold them accountable to it. Right. And that doesn't work. That creates, as Geno would say, misalignment.
So for me, this is like chicken or the egg, because it goes back to when Jake was playing football. Jake had a coach that was bad. He was a bad leader. He blamed Jake for losing a game, which, I mean, the kid was 10 years old. I'm like, seriously, how demented could you be to do that? Jake was really rocked. Jake said, I'm quitting. I said, no, you're not. Unacceptable. No matter what's out there, we do not quit. I drilled that into both of you guys early on. There is no such thing as quit. So that you would never show up in any workforce or in any opportunity and quit. It's not an option. So no matter how bad the culture is, you would leave, which you did.
Well, so
you didn't.
Yeah. So Geno, I like Geno to speak to this, because what we talked about yesterday was, you're right. You ingrained in me, there is no quit. So then when I found myself in a work environment that wasn't good, I couldn't quit. I forced that organization. I put myself in a position for them to fire me because I couldn't quit, yet I couldn't conform to an organization that didn't work for me. So Geno, talk to me about how we create that alignment within an organization.
Yeah, I think it's really important. And listen, alignment is the key word, but it's also people have to own their decisions, right? The organization has to own the fact that they hired a guy who's mediocre. And by the way, that's the same person that eventually is going to leave the organization and say, well, I never had an opportunity to move up in the organization. Nobody ever promoted me. Well, dude, it takes two to tango. You were never given an opportunity because you never thought that you were either worthy enough to do it, and you sat in the back and nobody knew who you were. It's just, right? It's the way it is, right? But at the same time, and nowadays more than ever, people need to do their due diligence before they go to any organization and try to understand if that's the culture that I want to be part of or not. Because once you're in, it's easy to blame everybody else. But nobody put a gun to your head to say you got to go work there, right? I can't tell you how many people I've spoken to that are upset about their job, and they tell me, when I start asking questions, well, why did you go there? Well, because I heard it was a good company. You heard it was a good company. Yeah. I spoke to a friend of mine that worked there 10 years ago who said it was 10 years ago. Really? Right. Don't you think the company evolved? So it's basically weak excuses for not taking ownership of the fact that you made a mistake.
So you talked about, as an organization, what questions to ask an individual to ensure that they align. Yep. What are some questions that an individual should be asking, or what should they be looking for in that interview process to figure out what the culture is? How do I get that information?
Well, it's interesting because many times those guys don't really do a good job of taking advantage of an interview. An interview is a discussion between both parties, right? The company and the employee. Many times these guys will just sit there like bumping a log and answer questions. And even at the end of an interview, when you say, do you have any questions? They'll ask about benefits, or they'll ask about things that, no, that's not the deal there. You need to ask questions about, why is my job open? Why are you looking to hire? What happened to the folks before me, right? Were they advanced? Like the guy that was doing this job 3 years ago, where is that person? Is she still with the organization? So you got to probe a little bit. And what I find, and this is the weakness of these discussions with these folks, is they're jumping for money, Jake. At the end of the day, when you talk to them, it's not about it's about, well, I'm making 50 and now I can make 65. Great company. I love it.
Yeah.
That's not a reason to jump. That's a short-term motivator. And eventually it's going to come back and bite them. The money will come if you do your job, right?
God, if I heard that my
That's
whole
the way
life.
it is, dude. If you're jumping around chasing dollars, you're going to be in trouble, because 5 years from now, you're going to be right back where you were. So to me, oh, by the way, besides the fact that you want to know where where the company has been with that opportunity, how am I going to be measured? That's another question I tell people. How do you measure me in terms of success? When am I successful? How do we know that I'm doing a good job?
Howie can chime in. Howie and I had that conversation yesterday of what are we looking at as success? How are we defining success?
That's
then what's the roadmap to reach that?
Right.
I had a very clear vision for him on what the metric of success looked like.
Right.
What are we actually quantifying as your responsibility, and how do we get there?
Right.
And you have autonomy to do it the way you want to do it. But at the end of the day, if the results are not there and you're not doing our process, then there's a disconnect.
Right.
Now you have to do it the way I'm telling you to do it.
Right. Yeah. Going back
all of this stuff.
Going back to alignment, the last thing I'll tell you is how many times you're in an organization that everybody has different goals and objectives. Talk about alignment. This has to be aligned from the board to the CEO all the way down. And everybody is responsible for making their goal, which is your boss's goal, which is his boss's goal. So at the end of the day, you're aligned versus I'm chasing this one, I'm chasing that one, and then people are scattered in the organization and have no clue how you measure success.
So I sum that up in a lot of the work that I'm doing with the word clarity. It's one of those C words that Lori's using, but clarity should not be a difficult thing to have throughout the organization. Yet people walk around dizzy and confused about who got promoted, why they got promoted, what's happening next.
Right.
Like the idea that you would not share your vision as a leader with everybody in the organization and continue to clarify that on a regular basis seems ridiculous to me. Yet there is still that close the door mentality. Let's have a closed door meeting. What are you kidding me? Those people are walking around with no idea what they're doing.
I used to call it looking at it through a straw, right? What happens, the bigger an organization gets, when you have a sales department that's combined of 6 different individual departments, whether it be customer service, whether it be business development, whether it be, the technical side of it and account management. When you start to put everybody into their own silos and everybody's got an individual responsibility to the overall goal, if you don't continue to communicate how their job directly affects the overall mission, everybody starts to just look at it through a straw and go, I'm only worried about this. This is my only responsibility. And the more you silo people, the more you create individuals. And the more you create individuals, the more you fracture the overall organization. So there can't be alignment or clarity.
Well, listen, I remember years ago, we did something similar. We flow charted the entire process in the operation. And then we would put a little circle as to where your input mattered. It's like a mall map, right? Where all the stores are and you are here. Yeah. We did that, and it was amazing to see, like, look, you're here, and without this doesn't go. So we need you to do your job to get to the end Otherwise, we're going to fail. So I agree. And many times people don't do that. You got to close the loop every month. Tell your people where you are. And the last thing I leave you is listen to them. People will give you the answers to the quiz if you listen to them. You can't talk down to them. You got to listen. No different than when you were coaching football. You got a receiver who comes in the huddle and says, hey, man, I can get open on this guy. I'm telling you, slant. No, we're going to run. Really?
I love it. This is a phenomenal conversation. I don't know if you've seen, but Lori is hammering the comments as well. I think this is the benefit of our team is we've got so many great minds coming together on these topics. I'm excited to get everybody together to have a collaboration to really build out what does that perfect structure look like and how do we at On the Ball deliver that to other people. So really great stuff.
Hey, I've got something called the quiet quitting remedy. I'll share it with Shay and maybe he can post it.
I would love that.
It's something that I came up with the employer and the employee.
I love that. Cannot wait to see that and read about it. Geno, thank you so much, number one, for being on the ball. Number two, for joining us this morning on the huddle. Dad, you want to close us out?
Yeah, I had trouble with my LinkedIn this morning, so I don't know who had trouble with LinkedIn, but that's a reason to subscribe to the YouTube page. YouTube seems to stand in the face of all of the turmoil, so we'll be there every morning. If you missed this, catch it later. Geno, you are a rock star. I knew it the minute I met you. It was one of those things. One of the things you talked about was when you meet the right people, you know they should be on the team. Maybe not immediately, right. But look, even Mark, when I was in Milwaukee with ESPN,
remember
Geno was living in Milwaukee. I called him. We had breakfast. So just crazy stuff. So thanks for going in overtime. This was great, baby.
Thank you, guys.
Let's get down to business.
Please don't worry about me. I'm about to let my heart speak. My friends keep telling me to leave this. So let's get down to business. Let's get down to business.